Yes. Once again, good afternoon to all of you. So, in the last week, we have seen the concept of data types. The concept of data types. So, we have seen the definition, right? When we use a data type, it is going to allocate the size for the data which we are going to store, and it is going to define a type of data that we are going to store. And these data types are various types. One is primitive data types. Another type is non-primitive data types. Primitive data types which will store single value like int, char, float, etc. So in the previous class we have seen where we need to use which kind of data type. And coming to non-primitive data types, we have already explained the concepts of arrays, just quick revision of arrays and quick revision of strings. And also we have discussed the concept of methods. Methods is not a data type only, but we have discussed this to complete to go for the next topics. Okay. So among these non-primitive data types, in Java we'll have two more data types are there. One is classes, another one is interfaces. But coming to C language, we don't have class and interfaces. Instead, we'll have the concepts of structures, unions, in. So we won't discuss these things here. In Java language, we are going to see classes and interfaces. Okay. So by seeing this structure, you can able to answer what is a class. What is a class? Simply, can I say that a class is a user-defined data type or not? Class is a user-defined data type. Definitely, because these data types are primitive data types. These data types are derived data types according to our last class. Data types, and these are user-defined or programmer-defined data types. User-defined or programmer-defined data types. Okay, fine. So to define a user-defined data type, we will use the concept of class. Here, what is a class means? Class is a keyword. Class is a keyword which is used to define one particular user-defined data type. Like for example, in C language, if you want to define a user-defined data type like structure concept, then we are going to use the concept of a keyword, struct keyword, followed by structure name, followed by parentheses, and followed by list of some statements which you are going to follow the rules. Similarly, here what is struct? Struct is a keyword which you to define user-defined data type in C language. What is a class? Class is a keyword which is used to define user-defined data type in Java language. Java language. Okay. Fine. Yes, okay. Fine. So let me take some examples which are from real world. Let me take something like a human, or I can take a fruit, or I can take a student, or I will take mobile phone, or I can take your favorite food, food, or I can take generally like car. So if you observe all this, or instead of this, let me write some more thing. The humans can be classified as men and women. Men and women. Fruits can be classified as various types. Among those, we can write your favorite, like apple, guava, banana, arjucati mangoes. Right? These are all various kind of fruits. Coming to students, the students are like girl students, and boy students. Mobile phones, Samsung, Lenovo, Redmi, etc. Means these are all not limited. Fruits are not limited. Students also can be classified in other ways. But in one form, I classified like girl and boy. Humans are also in one form I classified as men and women. Coming to food, you can write anything like food can be like a biryani or a breakfast like Maggie or dosha, whatever it may be. All these will come under the category of food. Coming to cars, your favorite, something like mm, Audi car, Bench, Bolero, etc. These are all the various kind of things which we call it as a car. Which we call it as a car. Guys, here let me have a question. Listen carefully. Let me have a question. What are the things that I have written here? What are the things that I am written here? Simply, if I want to uh, explain something about a man and woman, explain something about a man and woman, what I am going to generally call as a human. As a human. ఏదైనా మనం ఒక పర్టికులర్ గ్రూప్ ఆఫ్ పీపుల్ని మెన్ ఉమెన్ అందరినీ కలిపి ఏమైనా చెప్పాలనుకోండి, ఆల్ హ్యూమన్స్ sleep at night time in India. Am I right or not? So we won't specifically mention whether they are a man or a woman. If I want to combine both of them into a single sentence, then we will use human. Right? Don't think about it is in English class. Just for the sake of our understandability for the concept of class, I am defined like this. When you go for a doctor, doctor won't say that please eat apple, please eat guava, please eat banana, please eat mangoes only. They will say that please take fruits. Please take fruits. When we call, when a teacher or a lecturer call a girl or a boy, what they will call? They will call with respect to a name. They will call with respect to a name of the student or directly call as a student. Name to student, girl student to boy student, specific pillar. When I'm calling it as a mobile phone, we won't generally call it as Samsung, Lenovo, Redmi. Mobile phone is there to talk. That's it. Food. Food. Something. If you want to specifically mention, then we'll go for specific. Biryani, Maggi, dosa, etc. Alage, some person wants to, for example, our father wants to buy a car. Then, will you decide directly which you want to buy, like Audi, Benz, Bolero? No. What the father will say? Today we are going to like shop to buy car. Car కొనడానికి వెళ్తున్నామని చెప్తారు కానీ they won't say that specifically. If they want, they can specifically specify like whether it is Audi or Benz or Bolero. But in general terms, they will say that అరే ఈరోజు మనం వెళ్ళి కార్ చూడడానికి వెళ్తున్నాము అంటాం. అది ఏ కారు? We won't specifically mention. If you are not specifically mentioned a particular thing about, if you are not specifically mentioned about a particular thing, those are all call it as general forms. Those are all call it as general form. Specific ga discuss cheste menna, womena, apple, mango, girl, boy, Samsung, Lenovo, ala specific ga discuss cheste we'll call it as specific forms. Specific forms. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ సింపుల్గా అమ్మా, మీరు రెస్టారెంట్కి వెళ్దామంటారు. రెస్టారెంట్కి వెళ్దామన్నప్పుడు ఫుడ్ తినడానికి వెళ్దామంటారు. ఫుడ్ తినడానికి వెళ్ళేటప్పుడు ఏమి డిసైడ్ అవ్వకుండా వెళ్తే దాన్ని జనరల్ ఫామ్ అనొచ్చు. ఏదైనా ఒక లైక్ నేను ఈరోజు ఖచ్చితంగా బిర్యానీ తినడానికి వెళ్తున్నాను అనుకోండి, దెన్ వీ కెన్ కాల్ సే దట్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఏ స్పెసిఫిక్ ఫామ్. It is specific form. But when I say that human, the properties of human, right? If I am saying that it is a general form, for this general form there are some properties. There are some, I can say that there are some features. There are some features. Pretty general form kuda there are some features, right? Those same features will be having men as well as women, except some additional characteristics, except some additional characteristics. Am I right or not? Yes. Coming to fruit, fruit is a general form which is having some features. All those features will be in apple, guava, banana, and mango. But everything will be having some different characteristics. Some different characteristics uh, mm, like for example something you can think about all this, right? So everything like will be having, it's like mango will comes under only in summer vacation, but banana will be available in all the seasons. But there are some common characteristics which are eaten by humans. This banana is also eaten by humans, mango is also eaten by human, fruit is also eaten by human. So fruit is a general form, banana, these all will comes under specific forms. So means if I am taking some kind of general form, all these general form having some features. What are those features? For example, let me take a human. Let me take a human. Human having some kind of features or not? Human having some kind of features or not? Or మనం డైరెక్ట్ తీసుకుందాం, లేకపోతే మన గురించి తీసుకుందాం డైరెక్ట్ స్టూడెంట్స్. లెట్ మీ టేక్ a student having some kind of features. What are those? Student having height, student characteristics, students having height, student having weight, student having, let me write like color, etc. These are all the various kind of features of a student. Like one of the feature is like he is 6 feet high, he is 90 kilo, he is in black color or something. Those are all the features. Those are all the features. Is there any extra features are there? Features means what? Features means these are simply characteristics of general form. And also the operations that are performed by the general form. Operations that are generated by the general form. What are the characteristics of student? Student having height, student having weight, student having color, right? These are the properties. Which are common for what? Girl and boy, common. But if you take individual student, these characteristics physically changes. Okay, fine. Let me discuss that later. Yes. Similarly, what are the operations that a student can do? A student can, first and foremost important is he can read, he can sleep, what you are going during your class hours, right? Sleep. Student can eat in the evening time, you are going to take snacks like eat. Yes, these are the various kind of operations. Okay, fine. So means if I am saying that the features of some general form which contains the characteristics and corresponding various kind of operations. Characteristics means these are the characteristics which will store how many values? Whether it will store single value or it will store multiple values. Sunil Ferrari. Okay. How many values it is going to store? Can anybody answer? Height చెప్తున్నాం. Height of a student is multiple values are there, single value is there. Yes, somebody is answer. Single value, right? Yes. So at a particular time, the height of a student value is only single value. Means these are the characteristics which will store single value. If a particular characteristic is going to store single value, what kind of data type I can use? I can use simply the concept of variables or not. concept of variables, that concept can be a primitive data types. Primitive data type is going to store single value. These variables are also called as data members. Also called as data members. Store the data of height. Sorry. In general, we can say data member is a member which can store a data of a particular thing. Which can store data of a particular thing. Like height equal to 6. What is the meaning of this one? Which is going to store a single value. That is why I am saying that it is a primitive data. And height is a characteristic, which height is a data member which can store a particular data about something. Means by seeing this, I can say that 6 is the feet represented by the height of a student. Similarly, weight equal to 90 kilo. 90 kilo. In generally, what I'm saying is variables also called as data members, which when can store. What are the things that are capable of storing data? Those are all called it as variables, or those are all called as data members. Data members. And what are these? These are the, you can simply call it as, generally what you know up to now is called like functions, right? Operations. In generally in Java language, you are calling it as methods. Methods. These are the general forms. These are the general form. Okay, fine. So once I declare, once you know the meaning of the general form, guys, tell me, once I am defining something like it is a general form, it is a general form, is it really exists in the real world physically? Is it really exist in the physical world? No. Yes, very good. Is it really exist in the physical world? No. Yes. So it is not existed really. It is not existed really. Okay. So all called a general form. If it is not existed really, what we can say that it is simply a logical existence. Logical just our thinking point of view, we are simply existing. It is existed. Physical మీకు ఈ పాయింట్ కి అర్థం కాకపోతే లాజికల్ ఎగ్జిస్టెన్స్ and physical existence. Physical existence means which we can touch and feel. Which we can touch and feel. Logical existence means there is no concept of not touching, no touch and generally. Like if you take a men I can touch as well as women I can touch. Apple I can touch and eat. Goa I can touch and eat. I can enjoy the feel. Similarly, everything Samsung, like if we call it as a mobile phone, it is general thing. That's it. It is not logical existence. If it is a logical existence, if it is a logical existence, is it occupying? Is it occupying any memory? It's not all about memory. Is it occupying any space in the earth? మనం మెదడులో మాత్రం మనం థింక్ చేస్తున్నాం. అలా థింక్ చేస్తున్నప్పుడు అది రియల్ గా భూమి మీద ఏమైనా స్పేస్ ఆక్యుపై చేస్తుందా? ఇట్ వోంట్ ఆక్యుపై స్పేస్. ఇట్ వోంట్ ఆక్యుపై ఎనీ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ స్పేస్. మన మైండ్ లో సంథింగ్ ఏదో ఒక దాన్ని థింక్ చేస్తున్నాం. దాన్ని ఏమైనా లాజికల్ గా థింక్ చేస్తున్నాం అంటున్నాం. ఇప్పుడు లాజికల్ గా థింక్ చేసినప్పుడు అది ఫిజికల్ గా ఉంటేనే కొంత స్పేస్ ఆక్యుపై అవుతుంది ఎర్త్ మీద. కానీ లాజికల్ గా థింక్ చేస్తున్నాం అంటే ఏమవుతుంది? అది ఏమైనా స్పేస్ ఆక్యుపై చేస్తుందా? ఇట్ వోంట్ ఆక్యుపై any space. It won't occupy any space. Okay. Coming to here, we said that a class is simply a keyword which is used to define user defined data types. user defined data types. Different. Generally, what we say a class is a general form of real world entity. A class is a general form of real world entity. Now you can understood why I have defined this entire concept. A class is general form of real world entity. Means general form means which I can write. Human is one kind of real world entity. Food is one kind of general form. Car is one kind of general form. All these are all various kind of general forms. What are these general forms? These general forms having some kind of features or not. What are those features? These features are some kind of characteristics and also various kind of operations. For example, ఒక స్టూడెంట్ ఉన్నాడమ్మా, ఒక స్టూడెంట్ అంటున్నాం, అరే ఆ స్టూడెంట్ గురించి చెప్పురా అంటే మనం ఏం చెప్తాము? స్టూడెంట్ సార్ స్టూడెంట్ 6 feet ఉంటారు, స్టూడెంట్ యొక్క వెయిట్ 90 ఉంటుంది, స్టూడెంట్ కలర్ సపోజ్ ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ బ్లాక్ అనుకుందాం, స్టూడెంట్ కలర్ బ్లాక్ అంటారు. సార్ అతను డామ్ లో నిద్రపోతుంటారు అంటే ఆపరేషన్స్ స్లీప్. సార్ ఎక్కువ చదువుతుంటారు, ఎక్కువ తింటూ ఉంటారు, ఎక్కువ చదువుతుంటారు, రైట్? These are all the various kind of characteristics, various kind of features of a student. Similarly, for example, if I take a car ki em cheppotuma, car having features emuntayi? Car having color, car having gears, 4 gears or 3 gears, enni gears untayi antaru. Alage seater capacity 4 or 3 na 6 a seater capacity. Alage car yokka speed, like what we can say, anything, etc. These are all the various kind of features of a car. Like if you want to buy a car, before going to buy a car, you are going to think all the features. Whatever the features that you are thinking, all this will comes under general forms. General form, right? So features are simply characteristics and its corresponding operations. So characteristics and em cheppanu, simply characteristics are going to store with the help of variables, right? So those variables I can call it as data members, and corresponding operations means okay. So with this statement, I can say that what is a class? A class is a collection of data members and methods. That's it. Anta cheppaniki cheppam. Ee cheppadaniki anta cheppam. A class is a collection of data members and methods. That's it. Or simply in other definition, I can say that simply it's simply a process. It's simply a process of combining data members, same definition class now, data members and methods into a single unit. We can call it as a class. Understood? Okay na? ఇంకా చాలా మంది చెప్తారంటే కొన్ని టెక్స్ట్ బుక్స్ లో ఇట్స్ సింప్లీ ఏ బ్లూ ప్రింట్. క్లాస్ ఇస్ ఏ బ్లూ ప్రింట్ అంటుంటారు. లైక్ ఎందుకంటే కార్ ఉందమ్మా, కార్ అంటే ఏంటి? కార్ హ్యావింగ్ 4 wheels and I don't have exactly like the characters, like what are all the common characters all comes under a blueprint. Like for example amma, before going to simple cheppalante meeku difference cheptanu chudandi. A class అని ఎప్పుడు అంటామంటే when you are going to build a house, what you are going to do? You are going to meet an architecture. And you will say your futures. మీ ఇంటికి ఫ్యూచర్స్ ఎలా కావాలి, ఏ విధంగా ఉండాలి, ఏమేమి ఎక్కడ వాటర్ ఎక్కడ రావాలి, ఏమేమి లిఫ్ట్ ఉండాలా లేదా, లిఫ్ట్ ఉంటే ఏ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ ఆపరేషన్ చేయాలి, ఇవన్నీ కూడా మీరు ఆర్కిటెక్చర్ చెప్తారు. ఆర్కిటెక్చర్ ఏం చెప్తారు? ఆర్కిటెక్చర్ విల్ సింప్లీ డ్రా వన్ బ్లూ ప్రింట్ on some kind of paper. and some kind of paper, and they will come to you. They will come with that paper and they will explain clearly that class. Simply I can say that it is also a class. That is the reason I am saying that it is also a blueprint. I mean, coming to software industry, in software industry, what we are going to do is, we are having requirement space initially. In requirement space, we are going to gather the information from the user, and in the next phase, we are going to design, and in the next phase, we are going to perform coding, and in the next phase, we are going to something like testing. Then we are going to deploy. This you are going to study in coming semester. Okay, so once software people వాళ్ళు యూజర్ దగ్గర నుంచి రిక్వైర్మెంట్స్ తీసుకున్న తర్వాత, అంటే నీకు సాఫ్ట్వేర్ ఏదైనా కావాలి రిక్వైర్మెంట్ తీసుకున్న తర్వాత, దే ఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు డిజైన్ the user requirements in some particular format. If that software company is going to develop that software through Java, then they must and should have to use the concept of class. Without class, we cannot able to write any Java program. But coming to C++, can we write any C++ program without class concept or not? Right, sir, I would them. Yes, my imagination is also correct. Very good, Purna. Yes, very good. So in C++, we can able to write a program without class also. Coming to Java, if you are able to write a Java program, means you have to write compulsory class. Why they have defined in such a way, means to implement the concept of one of the object oriented principle, that is encapsulation. To implement the concept of encapsulation, they have defined you must and should have to write a class for a Java program. So what is encapsulation? That we'll see in coming classes. Generally we can say that propping up of similar data, we can call it as encapsulation. For example, student యొక్క క్లాస్ లో రాస్తున్నామంటే స్టూడెంట్ హైట్, వెయిట్, కలర్, ప్రాపర్టీస్ అన్ని రాస్తున్నామంటే ప్రాపింగ్ అప్ ఆఫ్ సిమిలర్ డేటానా కాదా? గ్రూపింగ్ అప్ ఆఫ్ సిమిలర్ డేటా ఆఫ్ ఎ స్టూడెంట్, then I can say that it is a concept of encapsulation. Means through the concept of classes, I can able to implement the feature of encapsulation. Okay, fine. So whenever we gather the requirements from the user, you are going to make a design. In software industry. So for a Java program, if you are writing, you must and should have to write a class file. So in company, requirements people are different, design people are different, coding people are different. Means, is coding people is directly involved with the requirement people? No. Is requirement people directly involved with the coding people? No. They will have a mediator, design people. Is design people will directly involve? They will also won't interact directly, but they will design something. Through the design, the coding people will understood. Means whatever the statements that are taken from the requirements phase, those statements are going to convert it into design form. That design form is going to given to the coding people. Then by seeing that design, coding people will write the code. After writing the code, then that will be handed over to the testing people. Testing people will test that whether it is working perfectly or not. If it is working perfectly, then they will deploy. So this is all about a software engineering. Okay. So okay, fine. So where I'm here, before writing a Java code, what I need to write? I need to make a design. What is that design? I need to make. So if I am writing a class file, I need to design like class diagram. Class design also called as class diagram. So what is a class diagram? Class diagram is simply a rectangular representation with three fields. With three fields. What are those three fields? First field is class name. Second field is all the attributes, or simply you can call it as properties. So data members we can call it as attributes also, or properties. Attributes or properties. Okay, attributes are properties. Then the third field is method. That's it. For example, uh, can somebody create a class file? Means for that, first what they have to do, they have to draw one class diagram. That class diagram contains three fields. What is that first field? First field is class name. Second field is what are the properties of student? Student having height. What are those? Height can be in the form of floating, right? So I can write float, height, float, weight, etc. Float height and float weight. And coming to methods, student can sleep. I can write like void sleep, like method heading, void, eat, etc. This is simply a class diagram for a student. So this is the structure drawn by design people. This structure is going to hand over to the developers. It is easy for the developer, right? So don't think that much it is that much easy. We need to write. Yes. Before going to write a class code, first let me explain syntax. Okay. So I hope up to here you understood. A class is simply a collection of data members and method. That's it. Okay, fine. So what is the syntax? If you are going to define a class, you must should have to use a keyword, class keyword. Is a keyword, class keyword, followed by class name, followed by same attributes, and followed by methods. Followed by, guys, here I am writing something, C++ code, class, I am writing like A. Let us assume that like access specific tells kabatti nenu cheppatledu. Int A. Guys, is it a valid class according to C++ language? Clearly check. Yes, very good. Shravani, endukumma? Yes. Bhargavi, very good. Bhargavi has given reason and Shravani has given answer. Yes, ma. Because we didn't mention here semicolon. Because of not mentioning semicolon, it is invalid in C++. Coming to Java, we can write a class without semicolon, or if you want to write, you can write semicolon also. There is no problem. So this is the corresponding syntax of class name. So while writing a class name, it is recommended to write if the class name contains more than one word. The class name contains more than one word, one word. Every word first letter should be capital. Every word first letter should be capital. First letter should be capital. It's not about more than one word, ma. It can be either one word or more than one word. More than one word. You have to write in the form of a capital letter. That's it. See, in the previous classes, I have defined the various rules for variables. గుర్తున్నాయమ్మా, వేరియబుల్స్ కి స్పెసిఫిక్ ఇండస్ట్రీ పీపుల్ రికమెండెడ్ రూల్స్ చెప్పాను. అలాగే కాన్స్టెంట్స్ కి స్పెసిఫిక్ గా రూల్స్ చెప్పాను. అలాగే ఇంకేం చెప్పామా? ఎస్, we have defined the specific rules for methods. We have defined the specific rules for now classes also. Means whenever we see a particular name, by seeing that name we are able to define whether it is a class, whether it is a variable, or whether it is a method or not. We can define. Constant ఎలా ఉంటుందమ్మా? All the constants are in capital letters. All the methods ఎలా ఉంటాయమ్మా? Methods are following camel case notation, meaning that except first word first letter is first word first letter, the remaining all the subsequent words first letter is capital letter. Coming to class, now it's not about the first word first letter. The first word first letter also should be capital letter. Coming to variables, variables are all mentioned in lower case letters. If that variable is having more than one word, then you have to follow the syntax of same thing. E rule follow. Okay. Now with this syntax, I can write a class, right? I can write the class Java class for this student diagram, this student class diagram, right? How I am going to write? Class is a keyword. Class is a keyword followed by what is the class name? Class name is student. If it is a single word or if it is a more than one word, I need to write first letter should be capital M. Student. Then we need to open parenthesis. If you are specifically write semicolon, you can write. Otherwise, you know it to write. Then followed by attributes. What are those attributes? Float, height, float, weight. Float, weight. Then we are going to write void sleep, some implementation. Then void eat, some implementation. Then we will end the class. This is the concept of this is the code for the student class diagram. I hope you understood. Simply, a class is a collection of data members and methods, and it is a general form. It is a general form, right? So for this general form, we have written class. So in the previous thing, we have defined if it is a general form, it is not existed really. If it is not existed really means it is a logical existence. Once I can say that it is a logic not exist really means class is also not existed really, means this is also, this is what we can say, this is a class definition. This is a class definition. Class definition. Even though we defined a class, there is no memory created for the class. There is no memory created for the class. No memory created for the class and enti? There is no memory created for the data members of the class as well as methods of the class. If there is no memory, we can say that it is what? Class is simply a logical existence. Simply a logical existence. Simply a logical existence. So this is all about a class. Okay, now here one important point. Let me take. We'll have time, right? Let me take. I have written something like Karamma. Let me take something like instead of taking or some other thing. What? Uh, we can write some anything. Like for example, once again, I'm taking only student. Class, student is a class, right? Student having roll number, student having some name, and student having some marks, M1, M2, M3. And this student, we can able to calculate the total marks of a student, right? So I'm going to write simply like float, get total marks. Some method. Okay, మీకు అర్థం కాకపోతే వదిలేయండి. Just for training, just understood that data members and methods, right? I am writing simply sum total equal to m1 plus m2 plus m3, and then I am going to return some total here. I am going to write some data type. Yes. Am I right or not? Yes. I have defined this one. Here I have a question. Generally, methods we have defined, right? Method is simply an operation. This method can be of two types generally. One is void method, another one is non-void method. If it is not returning anything, we can say it is a void method. If it is returning, that can be a primitive data type, or that can be a object also. When we go for object, that we'll see in the coming classes. So this is one kind of classification. In another classification, we can say that whether it is a member method or non-member method. I mean, for your understanding, I am saying that student A, is belongs to CSE A class. Student A belongs to CSE A class. Then I can say that student A is a member of CSE A. Student A is a member of CSE A. Then he can able to listen the classes of CSE A faculty. He can able to listen the classes of CSE A faculty. Student B is a student of CSE B, means student B is not a member of CSE. Right, understood. Student B is not a member of CSE, but he is a member of CSE B. Similarly, student A is a member of CSE. Student A is not a member of student B. So I can say that student A is non-member of CSE B. Student B is non-member of CSE A. Means student B cannot able to listen the classes of CSE A. Student A can able to listen the classes of CSE A. Simply, you can understood here. Assume that faculty is one kind of a variable. Faculty is one kind of variable which are available in CSE. Faculty 1 is available in CSE. Similarly, faculty 2 is a variable which is available in CSE. Now, student A is a member of CSE class. Then student A can able to listen the classes of faculty 1 or not? Yes. But student A is not a member of CSE B, so student A cannot able to listen the classes of faculty 2. Similarly, vice versa. Am I right or not? So with this concept, you can say that here members also to type. One is member method, another one is non-member method. If a method can have the capability of accessing the values, means if a method which is available, a method class available unte em cheyachamma data members of that to perform various kind of operations. It can able to perform various kind of operations over that class. What is a non-member method? It is a method which cannot able to the range of a class, which is not available in the range of a class. In the range of a class. If it is not available within the range of a class, then it is not able to access the data members and methods of that class. Data members and methods of that class. Okay, fine. See here, I will have a question. C++. In C++, can we declare a method? Can we declare a method outside the class? Can anybody answer? Yes, Naveen, very good. So we can declare a method outside the class in C++. In C++. But coming to Java, so because of this, member method can able to access the values which are present in the class. Because of this, Java allows only member methods. Java allows only member method. Means Java doesn't support the concept of declaring methods outside the class. Outside the class. Okay, now. So because of this reason, it will improve the security. It will improve the security. మన security ఎలా yield అవుతుందంటాం కదా, access specifiers తో పాటు this is also one of the feature. That is the reason we are able to improve the security. Okay, so this is what all about the concept of class. So if you have any doubts, you can ask me, otherwise you can leave. అలా చెప్పినట్టున్నాను. Just జనరల్గా ఏంటి మీరు గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాల్సింది, class is simply a general form which is logical existence. Because of logical existence, no memory space will be created, and that class contains methods and data members. That's it. This is what all about today's class.